One interesting fact that I also found out is that in the UK, a lower BMI cutoff value of 23 is used for Black and Asia and other minority group due to the greater risk of developing diabetes at a lower BMI relative to the white population. So what that is saying is, even though I said earlier on that the healthy range, the healthy BMI range is between 18.5 and 24.9. However, in Black and global majority group or other minorities, ours is even lower, as lower as 23 and not the upper range of 24.9. So we need to take note of that. There are other measurements or other ways of measuring this that would give a better measure of how much excessive fat that we accumulate in our body. There is what we call the waist circumference. If we have the opportunity, I'll be able to kind of show you where and how that is measured. In men, the waist circumference of more than 94 centimeter or 17 inches or more will be quite of putting someone in a more likelihood of developing obesity related health problems. Similarly, in women with waist circumference of 80 centimeter or about 31.5 inches or more, will also put them in this category. So if we take the normal um, house tape measure that has got the inches and the centimeter, if you put it around the midpoint between your hip and your rib cage, which will kind of falls around your umbilicus, if you pull the tape around and then try and see where you fall into. For men, if you are 94 centimeter or 37 inches or more, or for the women, 80 centimeter or about 31.5 inches or more, you are more likely to develop obesity-related health problems. The other way this can also be measured is to measure the ratio of our waist to our hip, right? So similarly, if time permits, we're able to kind of go back to the slides. I will show you where the measurement of the weight of your waist is taken and the measurement of your hip. And if you put that over each other and then divide it, it also gives us a measure of, or the predictive measure of where we might fall into. For the men, it should not be between, it should not be more than a ratio of 1 to 1. And in women, not more than 0.8. Okay? Anything more than that is considered as significant. Now, moving on. What are the causes of these problems? I've been talking about what are the causes of this condition that I've been talking about since. One of it is overeating or food addiction, which many of us will be kind of very familiar with in terms of how much some people do eat. And if I show you that, that just tells that story. I don't need to say much. That's why I was saying earlier on that most of the half of this slide is quite a pictorial that would kind of illustrate what I was saying. You could see how much some people eat and what they eat in one, and what goes into people's tummy, and what some people can't want to, well, consume at a go that are quite of detrimental. Also, in terms of our sedentary lifestyle, meaning that we just sit in one position, and quite commonly from the part of the world that I come from, sometimes being elderly or being older means that you don't do anything. You can just sit in one place and call A, B, C, D and do everything for me and move my leg or move my, bring my cup next to you. You won't get up from
Yes.
and you have housemaids, you have driver, you have cleaner, you have everything.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
you barely do anything than just sit down and then move from one place. You
Mm-hmm.
just have things done for you. It might be a luxurious life, but it does have its
Mm-hmm.
own problems too as well. I mean, people from
Mm-hmm.
socially deprived area, which is some of the things that we've spoken about before. If you are socially deprived, you are, in terms of it comes with uh, financial deprivation, access to good food and stuff and all that. And then people then tend to eat foods that are not nutritious and stuff. I mean, some people do have family history in terms of whether there is a genetic predisposition to these problems. Also, of course, we are in the age of global social media and all sort of things. There's a lot of misinformation online about so many things. People are following their idols, and people are trying to idolize some people and do what they do and want to what so. And if people are not passing the right information to people, people may follow a kind of a bad advice sometimes. Stress and poor sleep, very important. Medical and medication. Some illnesses and some medication, particularly people that are on medication for mental health purposes or other conditions, can also contribute to this sometimes. Um, Sophisticated marketing of food, of course, we've seen this so many times being debated on the television where they're trying to ban the advert of some drinks and food because children would kind of see them as being glorified, and they may kind of want to get addicted on that. So yes, of course they get better at it in terms of all those McDonald's, and I mean I'm not being not singling out any fast food chain, but these are kind of things that can be more attractive to younger ones. Of course, being old age too as well. When we are much older, our gastric enzymes, our digestive system, everything slows down. You know, our level of activity slow down too as well. So if you are not eating as much as we think we were eating previously, when our digestive system and our everything is slowed down, it can also increase the risk because we are now piling things in as opposed to burning um, quite a significant number out. Okay, so moving forward, yep. How do we prevent this in uh, being overweight in and obesity in our children or in our teen? I mean, there's quite a lot of suggestions that has been put out that can be quite useful. We need to gradually work on to change the family eating habit and activity levels rather than on focusing on the child's weight. So it's not about singling out a child or trying to be blaming a child for not being whatever. It's something that has to be a change within the family and try to work together. And as a parent, we need to be a good role model. Excuse me. we need to be a good role model for our children in terms of what we eat, try to eat healthy foods, and participate in physical activities that can help our children to kind of copy us. We should encourage our children and teens to engage in physical activities. For our children, at least 60 minutes of moderate physical activities most days of the week, and more than 60 minutes of activities, which has been found that can promote weight loss and provide weight maintenance. We should also try to reduce their screen time, which is a big challenge for most people, sitting in front of their phone, computers, and TVs and stuff. If we can work around that and make them not to spend more than 1 to 2 hours daily, that would also help with our children and teens. We should encourage our children and teens to eat only when they are hungry and to eat slowly. As parents, we shouldn't use food as a reward or withhold food as a punishment. That would have a detrimental or a paradoxical problems in terms of managing their weight. Let's keep our fridge stocked with fat-free or low-fat milk and fruit and veg rather than buying soft drinks and energy drinks and Lucozade and all sort of things, Ribena and stuff and all that. And let's not snack, with high foods, high sugar or high fat foods that they will be that would entice them and would be would cause a detrimental effect. Of course, serve at least 5 serving of fruit and veg daily, which is what they probably wouldn't like. They like all the sweet flavored sugar stuff, but we need to kind of signpost them and kind of steer them towards the importance of eating fruit and vegetable. Encourage our teens and children to drink water. Water is rather more beneficial than beverages and added sugar, soft drinks, and all sort of sport drinks, which have come in several forms. Let's eat meal together as a family. It creates healthy eating habits. When everyone is sitting together and eating the same thing, people are more likely to kind of copy rather than eating individual foods. How about we that are adults? How do we try to prevent this? Let's try and keep a food diary of what we eat, where you are, and how you are feeling before and after eating. People tend not to take stock of what they eat. They just eat whatever comes their way. We need to put more effort into being conscious of what we eat. And if we think in terms of calorie, if we have to take conscious effort to kind of make a note of this, it will be very helpful. Let's try and eat 5 to 9 servings of fruit and vegetable daily. And what we mean by 9 servings of fruits or 5 to 9 of vegetable is 1 cup of raw vegetable or an half cup of cooked vegetable or vegetable juice. Of course, we all know what vegetable, I mean, carrots, broccoli, lettuce, all those things that, yeah, and that are kind of healthy that we can, either cook and then eat as vegetables. I mean, there are quite a lot of rich vegetable from back home in Africa as well that we can also indulge in. In terms of the fruit serving, I mean, one piece of small to medium fresh fruit or half cup of can or fresh juice or juice or fruit juice or one cup of dried fruit. These are kind of measure that we can use in terms of 5 to 9 servings. Let's choose whole grain foods such as brown rice and whole wheat bread as opposed to white breads and eating high calorie sugar, flours, high fructose or saturated kind of foods. Weight and measure foods. Let's weigh and measure food to learn to to eat the correct portion sizes. If we have, I mean, some people do have this, kitchen weight where you'll be opportune to kind of weigh what you eat. That will also help us to be on top of what we eat. We should learn to read food labels. I mean, nutrition food labels when we go to the store. I mean, the government has put measures and in place that most of these foods are now do have labels on them, which is kind of done in such a way that it's even easier in terms of green, amber, and red. In terms of and for those who can calculate the calories, you'll be able to see because it's also been put on most foods that we buy in the store. That will also help us to reduce what we eat also. Balance the food with what we call checkbook. If you eat more calorie than you burn, you are more likely to gain weight. We all know that, and that's sort of correlate with how much you eat and how much activities in terms of exercise and stuff, which I've talked about. I've also talked about don't eat foods that are high in energy density. Of course, like the picture I showed earlier on, uh, that I mean, you agree with me that some food there are high calorie density, which is more peculiar to people from uh, the part of the world where I come from too as well. So we should try and avoid that as much as possible. I think I've gone too far. Um, yes. So, I mean, an example of that is if you are eating an average cheeseburger with an order of fries, which can be up to 1,000 calorie and more than 30 grams of fat. We could swap that by just ordering a grilled chicken sandwich or a plain hamburger and a small salad with low-fat dressing. That will reduce our calorie intake by hundreds and will eliminate much of the fat intake. So it's about being conscious of what we are eating and what options that we can go for. Go for less of the fried ones and go for more of the grill um uh option. Of course, we talk about same thing that applies to our children and teens. Reduce portion, smaller plates can help in some cases. We've talked about activity levels. We need to, as an adult, we should aim between 60 to 90 minutes or more of moderate to intense physical activities at least 3 to 4 days in a week. And and we should look for ways that we do other type of exercise, either indoors or something more of walking, that would keep us fit um, and help us with managing our weight. In terms of management, how is this illness managed? Which is more of what I've said earlier on. That is what constitutes the management really. Uh, and there are other managements that are available that can be explored, but I won't be talking in that capacity. But of course, number one is nutrition, which need to reduce our energy intake to between 500 to 1,000 kilocalorie per day. And that we can calculate by keeping a checkbook, or by keeping a logbook of what we eat, by checking food labels, by reduce uh, portion sizes and stuff. Of course, I've spoken about physical activity, between 60 to 90 minutes, 30 times per week, which is about 150 minutes per week of moderate aerobic exercises in different form. Some do Pilates, some do running and walking, and all sort of things. There's what we call the cognitive behavioral therapy, which is more psychological. I mean, for those who can benefit from helping them with the way they think, which can then would then be translated into their behavior. Of course, there's a place for medication as well, which is pharmacotherapy for those who are falls into the BMI category, and those who have other physical health problems. Of course, this will be used alongside changes in our lifestyle, which may also includes people that smokes, people that take excessive alcohol and stuff, and all that. All that also adds to why will form part of the treatment for those who will go on medication. Of course, there's also a place for surgical intervention for different categories in terms of their BMI, which one they fall into, or whether they have other illnesses alongside. I mean, you see some people that they have to either help them to reduce the size of their stomach, so that uh, it will only take less food, and by that it would help them to kind of reduce their weight. But in terms of preventing and treating other illnesses that we may also have, of course, mental health problems or any other ill, illnesses that can make us to then go on some medications that can increase our weight. If we try to prevent and then manage them well, it might just help to reduce this problem. I will quickly try and go back as so that I would um let me see, I would probably spend just about 5 minutes to kind of start from. I mean, I would have shown this picture earlier on from looking at what being obese look like. You will see the distributions, and of course, for those who are obese that are over 40, in terms of their BMI, they will be calculated. They will be classified as being uh, morbid, morbidly obese, or very severely um, obese. Um, I spoke about this in terms of the number that I was given earlier on from the Public Health of England. I mean, as at 2015, 63% of adults in England were overweight or obese. And out of this, 68% were men, and 58% were women. So which means, in terms of putting that in a scale, um, it's risen between in 1993 to between 1993 and 2015. It's gone from 14.9 to 26.9% increase. And if you look at the distribution in terms of who, and in terms of 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 which category that people fall into, if they take 100 people, 2 people will be underweight, 35 people will be, their weight will be within the healthy range, which is the 18.5 to 24.9. And for us with the global majority group, ours is even lower, 23. So only 35% falls into this category, and 36% of, or 33 out of every 100 will be overweight, and 24 will be obese. And in terms of the picture that I showed here, which is the morbidly obese ones, we still have 3 people out of every 100 will fall into this group. And looking at our children also, 28% of our children aged between 2 to 15 are considered to be overweight or obese, 28%, which is a very significant number. And the other interesting statistics here is that the younger generation are becoming obese at early ages and is staying obese till adulthood. You can see right from growing up, it sort of stays with them till even till they get to adulthood. And more interestingly, similarly to adults, for every children between ages 4 and 5 in England, one is considered as being underweight. 77 only falls within the healthy weight, while starting falls into being overweight. And we still have 9 of every 100 of between our children aged between 4 to 5 that will be obese. That is in group between 35 to 39.9 on their BMI scale. So same thing with children aged between 10 and 11 as well. So it doesn't exclude the younger ones. That is what this is telling us. Of course, I spoke about in terms of social deprivation and area. I mean, those who are obese are higher in children from most deprived area, and the prevalence is of the most deprived 10% of children approximately is twice in those who are least deprived. So, which is very obvious anyway. So, in terms of the cost, I told you earlier on about how much it costs. Is costing the NHS between in 2014 to 2015, we're spending 6 billion on treatment of obesity-related illness. You could see that how much pressure is putting on the NHS with us eating all these junks. And this is also telling us the same story in terms of the Public Health England. Obesity is costing the wider society around 27 billion in total, but NHS is spending 6.1 billion. All right. So you could see that it's a very significant illness or condition. And once we're spending this amount of money, enormous amount of money on this preventable illness, then it then takes away the vital resources, economic resources that would have been spent on other agencies that would have kept our quality of life better, the police, the fire service, the judicial system, this social care, because this money is being spent on a preventable illness. Uh, would have shown this in terms of the medical complication that I've tried to kind of caption how it affects various parts of our body, but I've kind of talked through them during my talk. And in terms of, yeah, this is the one I was talking about, the measurement of the waist circumference. Uh, the one at the top left, my own left hand side, which will be your right hand, shows where the waist is and where the hip is. And if you do a ratio of that, and for women, if you are below 0.8, like I said, 0.8 or below, you are kind of green, which is kind of healthy. But if you are between 0.81 to 0.85, you are in moderate or moderately overweight going to obese. But anything over 0.85 and over, it is considered as being obese. And you could see where the measurement of the waist circumference is taken, which you can also do with the waistline. And I said for the men will be around 97 centimeter or 37.5 inches, and for the um, women 81. So we need to be conscious of that. There are other measurements which they use the fat thickness and use other things that are done in hospital. But the simple one that we can do at home is to use our tape measure to measure the waist circumference or the ratio of the waist and the hip. Yes, I've talked about that. Yes, so I'll just run to the end of the slides and see if we have any question. I think we've run over the time.
Thank you, Dr. Abiola. If you'll stop share now, thank you.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there any questions, any comments, please? I'm aware that we've run over. Apologies due to the technology that we had some problems, but we were back on track. Dr. Abiola spoke so intensely about obesity, about fat prevention, and things that we should do and should not do. So is there any comment, please? Any suggestions, any questions? You've been so thorough, Dr. Abiola. I think I just look in the chat box to see if there's
I've
anything.
got a question, please.
Go ahead.
At what age should we begin to notice that our children are becoming fat or obese?
I mean, from the slide, I did show that quite a significant number uh, uh, falls into that category, even from the age of 5 and even under 5. So it's not just peculiar to um, children of any age. Children that are even under 5, they fall into this category. As at in 2016, between ages of 5 to 19, 340 million children and adolescents were obese or overweight, and 39 million children were under the age of 5 who are considered overweight or obese as at 2020.
Sorry, doctor, my question is,
Yes.
as a parent,
Yep.
I have a young child of say 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
What are the things that I must watch to be able to know whether he's growing at a rate that he or she could become obese?
Okay. That is the one slide that I did not put there, but I will kind of explain that. I will kind of let you know. I mean, most of our mothers on the platform would remember what they call a percentile chart that they use for our children when they were growing. When you go to the post casualty or to the GP, there's a bit of a graph type of thing. When you open it, it shows a graph that is kind of calculated in percentiles. So there is a graph there that will show where your child will be in terms of age and where his or her weight should fall into. So if you are below that graph, which is the third percentile, then you are underweight. If you are within the middle, you are fine. If you are above a certain percentile, 93, then you are considered as obese. So in children of kind of early ages and stuff, we use what we will call the weight or the weight height percentile. All right. It's a kind of it's kind of a chart thing as opposed to using the BMI and stuff. And that is why I said the body mass index is a crude measure because is not is not very applicable for people that age 18 and below. So in such people in children, we will use what we call the age height percentile chart.
Sorry, doctor, I have two questions in one.
Yes, please.
The first one is, assuming a child is already obese,
Yes.
how can such child be supported? And I'm not a medical person really, but I've heard that in some situations that the medications that some of these children are using or some individuals are using
Yeah.
also lead them into obesity and things like that. How can such person be supported or helped?
Yeah, I kind of run through 10 points, 10 kind of measures that we can do. We need to gradually work to change family eating habits and activity level rather than focusing on a specific child. If you are focusing on a specific child, it may not necessarily help it because the child may translate it as being singled out. Okay. But
Okay.
if you work as a family to change the eating habit of the family, the child is more likely going to fit in as opposed to trying to, single out. I mean, we need to be a good role model as a parents in terms of what we eat. So we need to eat healthy food and participate in activities so that our child is more likely to do same as opposed to uh, do what I say and not what I do. I don't, I don't know how that is phrased now again. All right. So we should do as we should do as we want them to emulate, not just doing the talk and not walking the walk. And we should encourage them to do activities, at least 60 minutes of moderate physical activities on most days of the week. We need to reduce their screen time in front of TV, computers. They need to be more active. All right. Encourage them to eat when they are hungry, when only when they are hungry, and not just see it as a kind of a, a thing of joy to eat anything they see. And we shouldn't use food as a reward or try to withhold food as a punishment. That's going to backfire. It's going to have a paradoxical effect. Stock our fridges with low fat, free fat or low fat milk and stuff and vegetable rather than soft drinks and snacks and high fat. Yeah. Of
Thank you,
course,
sir.
encourage them with fruit and veg. Encourage them to drink water rather than fizzy drinks and energy drinks or sports drinks. And let's try and eat together as a family and create an healthy eating habit. All those things will help our children as opposed to, yeah.
Without further ado, thank you all for coming on. Thank you so much for all, for those who join us during 2023. It has been a wonderful year. We've learned so much. The most one that touched me was the one I think Dr. Abiola, you spoke about breast cancer in men. If I might remember, that was quite an eye opener to many of us. So we just like to thank you all for joining us during 2023. We look forward for a bigger and a better 2024. And God bless you all.